and welcome to this episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, an initiative by ETH. I am Ashwani Mishra, bringing to you conversations with CXOs over a cup of chai as we discuss their personal and professional lives, career experiences, hobbies, sources of inspiration, and other such engaging topics. Joining us today is Sharad Mehra, Chief Executive Officer Asia Pacific at Gus Global Services. He also leads the online education business at Gus Global Services. Welcome, Sharad, on Cutting Chai Stories.
Yeah, thank you, Ashwani. Great to be here. I'm a big fan of cutting chais. So it's good to have a chai with you as well.
Pleasure is all ours, Sharad. Thank you for sparing out time. You started off as a car sales executive. Can you take us through those initial days? I believe you were selling photocopiers as well.
Yeah, that was a very interesting journey, Ashwani. I started selling photocopiers, and there used to be something called a PCO at that time. And my job was to hop from a PCO to PCO and try to sell photocopiers. And then I was at a car dealership, and the job was to sell cars. Maruti was the car at that time. And interestingly enough, I did not know how to drive a car, but I could actually give you a good spiel on exactly how does the capacity work and what is torque and what is power and so on and so forth. So
Right.
interesting journey selling cars, over-the-counter salesman. And also, selling scooters sometimes, depending on, and actually I sold tractors as well. So,
This is right after you completed your education, your graduation.
This was while I did my graduation, BCom, and
Right.
before I did my MBA. It was that interim period where I needed the money to fund my education and also support the family. So took up this interesting job, and then the journey started with MBA, and then so on and so forth.
Can you take us through your early childhood, Sharad? So when you're schooling, the lessons that you've learned early on that have stayed with you till date.
Well, childhood was fun. School, I think, was the most interesting part of my career till then. And why I say so was that while I was a good student, most of my time was actually spent outside the class. Extracurricular activities,
Right.
debates, elocution, and that the school gave me so many opportunities to explore many different areas, and this is what I did. I was also a head boy of the school for 3 years, and why
Great.
3 years was because when I was in grade 10, that was the highest class, and then we moved to grade 11 and moved to grade 12. It almost sounds like Indian prime ministers when they have these long tenures. 3 years, I was the head boy of the school. Interesting journey at school, and I think that there is so much of shaping that happens during those early period of your life, your teachers, the mentors around you, the people that you see as inspiration. And this was really a pre-internet era, so you could actually connect with real people, and those were your real role models. And I think the same happened for me as well. So a lot of learning, I think, about leadership, about teamwork, and about how to do things in a group came from
Early
school.
on. Right.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, my principal was a remarkable man, Mr. Chatterjee, and he and I used to have long conversations on many of these topics. And one thing he really taught me was, seeing things and observing things. What's the difference between the two? And how just by wandering about in an office or in a school, you could observe a few things and how they can kind of shape many decisions that you take. So it was full of fun, the school. It was a co-ed school, which I think
Right.
added a lot to why school was more interesting. But one lesson I learned early on, that if you are a head boy and one of your responsibilities is to enforce discipline in the school, you're
You
not
have
going
to
to be
you have to lead
popular.
it from front.
So you are not going to be popular with girls. And when I look back, I mean, sometimes this question does come to my mind that should I be in a head boy? Should I be wanting to be a little more popular? But can't turn back the clock now.
A couple of things that I picked up from what you just mentioned, Sharad. So one, You were drawn to extracurricular activities. Sports was one of them. Any particular areas of interest in these sports?
Well, cricket was my passion, like for millions in the country. So I did participate at the school level. Also went on to kind of play at a slightly higher level, club level as well. But I think around that time, a decision had to be made. I got an admission actually into sports college in Lucknow. That should
Okay.
I, pursue sports as a career, or get into serious studies, and thankfully I had a lot of people close to me who made me realize that I was good, but maybe not good enough for the next level. And therefore, I kind of decided to pursue it more as a passion than a profession. And that's how I kind of continued with cricket. I still, I'm an active player. I'm part of our cricket team.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Play matches regularly.
So
Not
in terms of coaching them, or
well, Ashwani, till 2 weeks back, I was an active player, but then I really figured out that we've got younger, fitter talent in the team. So I might graduate to another role, which is really the coaching and the mentoring of the team. So that's the role which I do. Incidentally, we have our quarterfinal in a tournament that we are playing tomorrow in Dehradun.
oh,
So
okay,
I'm
okay.
taking up a cab at 4 in the morning so that I can reach Dehradun by 9, so that I can spend that 15 minutes with the team just before the match, because I think it's needed.
True, true, true. So, look, the other thing that I wanted to ask you, Sharad, again, you've been the head boy for your school for 3 years. Now, those leadership lessons that you learned early on, how have those impacted your role in the present scenario, or over the years in various professional roles that you've taken?
Ashwini, substantially, I would say. And it was like something when you are doing that. It's not that you are doing it because you're learning a lesson. It's just like you do that, and therefore certain things
True.
come in on your way. The points that we were talking about earlier, becoming a popular leader, or really becoming an effective leader, was, I think, one lesson that I really learned, that you cannot be a popular leader. I mean, there could be kind of situations where you have to take certain tough decisions as well. And I think that kind of made uh, important lesson for me early on. I think the importance of teamwork, that also came very substantially very early on, because one of the things I realize as I look back in the schooling system that we currently have, essentially focuses on the individual. It's like my
True.
marks, what do I get, and therefore where do I go? But on the sports field, or when you're part of a larger group, really taught me that essentially it's teamwork which really takes you there, and you are not alone. You need support of so many people to make things happen for you. Interestingly, during that phase of my life, because of the role that I was playing, I had to do a lot of public speaking. These
Right.
kind of events at school, you open things, Teachers' Day and stuff like that. That also kind of made me, I think, much more confident to take things head on. And one thing which I really prided on, we had about 1,200 students in the school, and I knew the names of almost all of them. I mean, there was something I just kind of made it into a point of doing that, to really establish that connect.
Personal
It,
connect. Yes.
it just came on, and I never realized that there are so many, but it just kind of came on, and I still have those beautiful connects with my juniors and their juniors and their juniors. I don't remember all the names now, but I think that really gave me the importance to understand that how connect with people, and empathy is an important part of being a leader. The technical skills you will learn later on. You'll become an engineer, you'll become an accountant, you'll become an MBA. But these are the real skills that differentiate a leader. Now, I am able to understand more of it now, because I've had this journey of the last 20 odd years.
So how do you lead your team? So one thing is very clear, Sharad, the leader is not popular. So you've emphasized it quite clearly. How does one, how do you lead your team?
Well, I don't think so. I really lead the team. I think the way I look at it is that, the basic thing is about having a bunch of great people who are empowered to do what they can, and then they can do the best that they can. My role is really that of an enabler, that making sure the resources are available, the empowerment is there, and wherever they need my help, often we kind of get into this conversation around styles of leadership or a particular
True.
way
Yes.
to lead. Now that's actually not the right way to look at it in my view. It's very contextual. It all depends on what the situation is. So if let's say we are faced with a crisis, then I see myself as a directive leader, very clear instruction that this needs to be done, and the body language also changes
Right. Right.
completely. But when we are in let's say a brainstorming meeting where the idea is to let's bring fresh ideas, then you actually need a very different style of leadership, a more open style of leadership that allows for ideas to come into place. So I think the style of leadership will depend on the context of
Context.
the situation, but then there are certain things that absolutely stay true in whatever the context is, which is the connect with people, the empathy that I spoke to you about, the respect for people, respect for their views, respect for their ideas, and really embracing that diversity. Now, if you're able to have that as the foundation, then rest of it, I think, is just a matter of doing a few things right.
True, true. Very rightly said, Sharad. So when we think of CEOs, we typically consider them as inspiring visionaries or savvy business people. It is rare to label a CEO who's highly engaged and trying to coach, have a coaching style manner for their people as well. How do you look at mentorship in that way? So how does that role come to you?
See, very early on, I'm really been blessed to have some uh, magnificent people that I've worked with. And those who were like mentors in my early stages of career. And there's so much that I learned from them. And then I myself had a couple of experience where I worked with professional coaches, made me realize that this is one of the most fundamental job of a leader is, which actually made me do a couple of professional certifications in leadership coaching as well, just to understand the science behind it as well. And I think that's something I've been practicing regularly. The fact is that for me personally, empathy is extremely important, and developing the potential of people is it's a personal cause at some time, really kind of allows me to find the time to do it. And I think it's really what the responsibility of every leader has to be. Often we look at some of these roles as that either HR has to drive, or there are external consultants who will kind of work and certainly motivate our teams to do
Right.
better. My experience, it really never works. It's the line manager who really knows the context, who has a connect with the people.
People.
I think that's something which is extremely important. I remember when I first took up my role at Pearl, which was before Gus.
Right.
One of the initiatives that I started at that time was we called Coffee with Sharad, popular from
Oh,
Coffee
okay.
with Sharad. And the whole idea was exactly what we are doing right now. Spend half an hour with your team members just to get to know them better, their aspirations, their families, what they are really looking for. And I think those 30 minutes were so empowering for both of us, because I could see and learn so much about the organization and the people in those 30 minutes. It was not a coaching conversation. It was not a conversation about work. It was pure conversation. And I think so many things came up out of it. So I think if leaders were to practice this on a regular basis with their team members,
Team
you will
members.
actually see a different a level of bonding, and also a different level of performance at the workplace.
True, true. Very well said, Sharad. So that's very essential when one looks at the overall leadership model and role. What do you enjoy doing in your free time, Sharad? In the little free time that you may have, is there particular interests or hobbies that you pursue?
Ashwani, a lot of free time. I mean, this is also me. Time nahi hota. You will really make time for things that matter to you. So my passions. One is singing. I'm really fond of singing. So it's almost like कि जब तक दिन में एक गाना नहीं निकल आता है system से, it's like something feels a little incomplete. So I love to sing. Cricket, as I mentioned, is something that I love to kind of spend as much time as I can on the field. And cooking. I mean, that's really what my real passion is in a lot of ways. And since I was, I think, in grade six, I remember cooking my full Indian meal with everything
Oh,
that is needed, and that passion
very early on.
I don't know, just happened here. I mean, the rotis were like in all
Shapes and
forms of
size.
it, all shapes and sizes and thickness. And I remember my first cooking mishap was when I was making lady finger bhindi, and I did not know that you have to wash and chop. So I chopped and washed. Uh, which those who know cooking would understand what I'm saying. But from there on, the passion just continues. So I'm very fond of cooking whenever I get the opportunity. So weekends mostly, that's how I really spend my time to create some interesting dishes, find out the history of food, and try to recreate some of that magic.
You did win some award as well. You were the runner-up at the Hayat
That's
food.
right.
Uh, could you share that
So
story?
this was a contest that Hyatt had organized, essentially a CEO cookery challenge, which I participated for fun. But let me tell you, there was intense competition. The CEOs have this big competitive spirit in them. So I
True.
competed all around. So I was the runner-up in that. So that was really fascinating to be part of that and really create something in a like a master chef surrounding with the pressure of time and plating and stuff like that. So good fun. Since then, I've not really participated in many competitions, but yes, I've been called to cook at various places, including the Hyatt kitchen, where I dabble a few times to create something interesting with the chefs. So the chefs across the country in many popular restaurants are my best friends and my worst enemies as well, because we have this whole conversation about that this flavor was just not right, and those conversations. So yeah, good fun. Food is amazing.
Right. You dabble in poetry as well, Sharad. So
Right, yes,
any
I
specific uh, themes that you pick on or choose, or it's very generic?
usually romantic poetry, because those thoughts kind of come to me naturally. Others I have to kind of struggle a bit, and I think it's just like poetry is nothing but your thoughts that you put words on. So whenever I'm kind of in that mood, I just kind of pen down a few things that I like, which are close to my heart.
Anything that you want to share here, Sharad? Any couple of lines that you want to recollect or?
I don't recall exactly everything that I've written, but just sharing one with you. गम नहीं है इस बात का, गम नहीं है इस बात का कि बदल गया जमाना, मेरी जिंदगी तुमसे है, कहीं तुम ना बदल जाना.
Beautiful, beautiful, very touching. You want to go on, or I'm sorry, I stopped you.
No, it's fine. Just two lines that I wrote, and yeah, so yeah, poetry writing is fun. We were just kind of thinking of sending a New Year card to our employees, and typically we have been kind of buying it from outside, from Cry or Helpage or any of these organizations. But this time I said, this has been such a year. Let's kind of create something around hope. So I wrote a poem called Hope Again. I don't have the exact words for you right now, but that was the theme. And then I spent some time to design the card myself, and I said, let's kind of we've talked about the new normal so often. Why
True.
don't we get the old normal now? Because that's what people are really asking for. So no more work from home, no more online meetings, and kind of really give your friend a hug is was the theme which I designed. So that's where I wrote one of my poems there as well. So yeah, the writing continues.
Continues. I know. One life lesson, Sharad, that you would want to share, or that has had an impact on your professional journey. Anything that has a lasting impression till date.
Look, I think it's very difficult to just put one lesson, but I think one thing which I've learned over the last few years is that often in the process of going through our life's journey, there are so many things that we try to control. We try to control the environment, we try to control our bosses, our employees, our people, and so on and so forth. But the only thing that we have which we can truly control is our own actions and behaviors.
True.
So instead of that, if we can just focus on that, because that's the only choice that we have, is the power to choose our reaction in any given set of circumstances.
Scenarios.
So if we can really focus on that what can I do right now to make that impact, I think that is a very powerful thing, because you are trying to change something that is within your hand, rather than complaining about the whole
Okay.
world of what's happening. That if everything in the world around me changes, then it will be a perfect situation for me. It's never going to happen.
True, 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 true. Apart from the corporate mandate, Sharad, any specific or personal goal or mission, if I may call, something that you would want to achieve, once you retire, or anything that's in mind?
So Ashwani, one thing is I want to retire in the next 2 years. Okay, don't tell my boss, but that's really something that I really want to do, is to kind of in some ways retire from a conventional corporate life, and then focus on two things that are close to my heart. One is to actually release an album of my own, where I want to write and I want to sing. I don't think so I'll be able to compose the songs, but these two things I would like to do, and to write a book.
Oh,
Really kind of a book on poetry is what I really wanted to, but these guys are telling me that nobody reads poetry. So maybe
no,
something.
there are people who still do that, Sharad. So,
I completely agree with you, Ashwani. So a book on poetry, and then I have this idea of a restaurant that I would like to kind of open, and it's the idea is it's a little unique, that when you come to my restaurant to eat, you should in some ways deserve to eat what is being cooked there, and it's not a menu or the ordering that you choose. It's really kind of really crafted and curated with the most authentic of flavors. No shortcut, no modernization, no innovation, no plating. It's just real quality food out
food.
there. Very selective, very exclusive kind of a restaurant. So these are the three big things that I have to do. That's why I have to take a break from my conventional corporate life early on.
And you would still continue to be associated in some form, with.
Look, I'll tell you, education, the industry that I'm part of is so seductive. Once you are in it, I mean, the real thrill is that you are doing something which is impacting the future of a generation, it's
True,
impacting
true.
the future of a nation. That it's so compelling and powerful that you can never take that out of your system. And I definitely expect myself to be doing something in that direction, so that we can fundamentally reform our education system. Because if we can do that, this country would be in a different trajectory of growth across all parameters: economic parameters, social and cultural parameters, political parameters. And that's where one of my passion really lies.
Completely agree on that, Sharad. Thank you, Sharad. It has been a pleasure to have you on this episode of Cutting Chai Stories. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for taking us through your journey, sharing your experiences and lessons over the years, and all the best for Gus Global Services, your initiative that you plan to do around your album, the book launch, and the restaurant. So all the best.